So I just got sent this article by on Twitter, and excuse me for forgetting your name, but shout out to whoever sent me this article on Twitter. This article is dealing with a Republican governor from one of the whitest states in North America. His name is Paul LePage, and he's basically telling, you know, U.S. Representative John Lewis, who is a civil rights, his basically a civil rights legend. You know, he's was up there with the civil rights uprising, march with Dr. Martin Luther King, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So he's been there in the trenches with the civil rights uprising in the '60s, and this suspected white supremacist is telling John Lewis, you know, basically, shut up, be a good Negro, and be happy that slavery ended. So I'm going to briefly talk about this article. The article is entitled Maine Governor Offers John Lewis an Erroneous History Lesson. So I think this is pretty interesting. So before I continue on that, if you are new to the channel, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Chauncey, aka the Black Separatist. On this channel, I talk about counter racism. I also talk about issues that affect black people collectively as a group. And I offer my suggestions on how to replace this broken system of injustice, this broken system of racism, which is white supremacy, with a system of justice. So if you are new and you agree to that ideology, please subscribe to this channel. If you don't agree, subscribe anyway, because I need my view counts up. I need my subscriptions up. Because if you one of those people who just want to hate watch and troll, go ahead and do that. Because at the end of the day, if you are one of those people who hate watch and troll, you are just a statistic and a view count. All right. So anyway, family, I'm going to talk about this story. Very interesting. That this guy, I'm going to switch my scene real quick so you guys can see my there you go. Says Maine governor offers John Lewis an erroneous history lesson. All right. I'm going to play the clip. This article from MSN.com has a video clip of this story here. So let me play it real quick, and I'll give you guys my thoughts and post commentary.
Donald Trump and John Lewis, saying Lewis should thank Republicans for ending slavery. In an interview with a radio station in Maine, Republican Governor Paul LePage said, quote, "You know, I will just say this. John Lewis ought to look at history. It was Abraham Lincoln that freed the slaves. It was Rutherford B. Hayes and Ulysses S. Grant that fought against Jim Crow laws. A simple thank you would suffice." This comes after Lewis, a civil rights icon, said he does not see Trump as a legitimate president. Trump called out Lewis after the remarks, saying the Georgia congressman is, quote, all talk and no action. The battle between Lewis and Trump comes just days before the president-elect is sworn into office. For Viewer, I'm Nick Cardona.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah. There's a lot of things I want to talk about that regarding that. First of all, he brought up Abraham Lincoln. He brought up Ulysses S. Grant and Rutherford B. Hayes. All right. I mean, typical suspected white supremacist rhetoric. Going back to the presidents that benefited from slavery, that owned slaves, all right? And you want to talk about Abraham Lincoln into slavery because he went ahead and wrote up the Emancipation Proclamation. When you look at the history of that, every strategic move that these white supremacists make, especially during that time, you know, of antebellum slavery, he made that move because of the railroad industry for expansion. When you have these railroad people back in during that time that were trying to expand their industry in other regions and other territories, you need to have the politician co-sign. All right. So that is during that time, that's what you call the progenitor of buying, leasing, or renting politicians. Okay. So the railroad companies were able to control politicians such as Abraham Lincoln during those times so that they can use him, right, for political muscle, and he can use them as far as, them giving him money for his campaign and things of that nature. That's where all that comes from. Expansion of the U.S. railroads during that time, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Probably more than that with inflation of today's dollar. Then he brings up Rutherford Hayes and Ulysses S. Grant, which of course, again, those guys benefited from slavery. Coupled with the fact that you have the transatlantic slave trade that happened, between the 1400s to the 1800s. And if you go and deal with the amount of money that was generated around those times, with today's U.S. inflation, that's trillions upon trillions of dollars that, again, people classified as white are benefiting from. All right. Even the article points out, there was no Jim Crow laws in existence on the books during those times when Rutherford and Grant were in office. So there were no Jim Crow laws. So this guy, how you old as hell and you giving out misinformation like that, That's why you always have to fact check these damn suspected white supremacists. Every time they come something out their mouth, always fact check them because they always spitting out lies, But this guy, like I said, Governor Paul LePage is from a state, Maine, which is, probably like 99% white, probably the whitest state in North America. And he sounds like a damn slave owner. He's basically telling John Lewis, hey, nigger, tell me what you think about the Emancipation Proclamation. What do you think about that? And here's an example of a slave talking during the 1800s, right? Well, sir, sir, I just want to just do my job and I just want to, feed my family, sir. And that's it. I just want to do my job and feed my family. That's all I could do, sir. Yes, nigger, you're right. The Emancipation Proclamation, nigger, you know what that represents? We give you guys free food. We give you guys free housing. You niggers should be appreciative. You should be appreciative. So, the Emancipation Proclamation is something that I don't agree with because we're giving you niggers all kinds of free things, and all you're able to do is just work for us. We'll give you a decent wage, and we're giving you a nice quality of life for where you came from. You came from a goddamn jungle. So this is good for you niggers. That's basically what this guy, Paul LePage, is saying. Sounds like a slave plantation owner, So, this story is amusing to me. I just wanted to address this, and a shout out to the person who sent this to me on Twitter. This was a very interesting story, but again, you have these suspected white supremacist politicians out here giving out false information, giving out basically I'm still the ruler and I'm still the dictator of your lives because we control the wealth and the resources of this country and around the world. They're giving you that kind of ideology, which of course is systematic racism, white supremacy. That's what Paul LePage is giving John Lewis. Shut up, nigger. Be a good nigger. And be thankful that slavery ended, even though your people are still on the bottom of the totem pole in every statistical category you can think of, in all 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. All 9 areas of activity. We're at the bottom. And Governor Paul LePage wants to remind you, even though you're at the bottom, you're still good niggers because slavery ended. So It's just very interesting story, and I just wanted to address this article real quick and understand the fabric of white supremacy. All right. Again, they control all 9 areas of activity. So when you have these suspected white supremacist politicians with that rhetoric, and he was able to say that in the interview, that goes to show you the mind state of this broken system that we live in, right? This broken system of injustice, which needs to be replaced with a system of justice. And my ideology is to separate from those very people who oppress us and separate from the people, which could be our own people, who want to live destructive and non-productive lifestyles. It's that simple. All right, family. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Leave your thoughts down below about this particular article. I'll leave the link in the description. All right, family. Until next time, this is Chauncey, a.k.a. the Black Separatist, signing out. Peace.